Hi ladies and gentlemen, fellow traders, welcome to another episode of Weekly Forex Outlook with Chart Engineering Pro. We really appreciate you for taking the time to watch this video, and we do not take you for granted at all. If you haven't yet subscribed or you are new to this channel, kindly hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any content we post here. And if you also find value with what we share here, be sure to like, drop your comments, share your views, and share this video to your fellow traders or anyone who would find this information useful. We'll also drop a link to a free Telegram group in the description of this video where we share updates of these setups as the week unfolds. And we'll also tackle the recap of the previous week at the latter part of this video. So let's see what we have for the week on the economic calendar. For the coming week, we have a bank holiday or bank holidays for most of the major currencies. So we are likely to see some low volatility on Monday. On Tuesday, there's no high impact news. On Wednesday, we have AUDCPI. We also have NZD official cash rate, which is it's a very high impact news. So if you're holding any NZD pair, you have to take caution. You have to take caution when you're holding any NZD pair around this time when this news is released. And we also have the core PCE price index on Thursday for the USD, and Friday we're going to have the Bank of England's governor speak on Friday, and then we're also going to have CADCHF on Friday. So let's see what we have for the coming week. So this week we are going to start with Brent crude oil and then WTI crude oil, and as you can see how price has been playing out in recent times, the actual driver of this of DXY and CAD is dependent on crude oil. So we have to see what crude oil has for us before we can determine where DXY actually wants to head to and CAD actually wants to head to. So this is Brent crude oil, and we had a setup from here where we were anticipating a potential harmonic pattern formation. So currently we are yet to see a B to C leg formation on Brent crude oil before we see any massive move from this area, from between $75 to $66 per barrel on Brent crude oil. When price reaches this region, that is where we are likely going to see some massive moves to the upside, or we are likely going to see price break below these lows and then continue to the downside. So for the coming week, we are bearish on Brent crude oil, and we're looking forward to see price retest or pullback, give us a pullback, and then we look for selling opportunities to the downside. So if Brent crude oil falls, we are going to see a weakened DXY, and we're going to see a weakened CAD for the coming week. This is WTI or US oil. So we're very bearish last week, and we actually took a position around here, and we're taking out. We took a position around here, and we're taken out by this move. And price is still showing the bearishness that we were looking for from the previous week. So going into next week, we are just going to look for a possible pullback into the area of interest, and then we look for selling opportunities into the region of $61 to $70 per barrel for US oil. It also has a similar setup as Brent crude oil. So we are just waiting for the possible B to C leg to form before we take our decisions whether to go long or to sell. So this is DXY, and considering what is happening on Brent crude oil or WTI crude oil, if we are likely, if we see, or if there is a conclusive or if Iran and the US is able to conclude on a peace agreement, we are likely going to see the DXY fall. And as we can see, DXY has retested an area of interest, and it is showing some signs of divergence or some signs of reversal within this area of interest. So if there's an agreement, if there's a peace agreement, then we see DXY fall from here to the downside. And if we go to the 4-hour time frame, we have this divergent move developing. So if we throw in the RSI, you can see on the actual chart we have a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high formation. But then if you look at the RSI, you can see lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, which is a divergent view of what is actually happening on the actual chart, and it's a sign of a reversal to the downside. So going into next week, we are looking forward to a daily structure shift. If we get a daily candle to shift either this daily structure point or this second daily structure point, and we get a pullback, we are likely going to take ourselves to the downside, targeting the various targets we have below. And as we are taking the sell position, this area of interest is going to be our major area of resistance or support, where price can also react from this area of interest, can be a place of resistance for price if we are to see the downside for DXY. So when price gets here, we are likely going to see some reactions from here, and if price is able to break through strongly through this zone, then we know we are heading downwards for DXY, or we are heading towards a weakened DXY. This is EURUSD. So for EURUSD, just as we saw on DXY, price is currently in an area of interest right here. Last week we were anticipating that price was going to pull back into this area of interest to give us selling opportunities to the downside. Price never made its way there, and does now retrace to another area of interest to the downside, where we are likely going to see some bullish momentum coming in if DXY weakens. So going into next week, what we'll be looking out for is a daily structure shift here. This daily structure first, or this second daily structure, we get a shift, we get a pullback or a higher low formation, and we look for buys to the upside. This will be our major area of resistance if price is able to move to the upside, where price might have some resistance, or price might play around here before taking off. So if price is able to break through this area of interest, then we know we are heading to the upside. Should price also, with the bearish side, should price pull back to this area of interest and give us selling opportunities to the downside, then we can react from here to the downside. This is the very first sell scenario we are looking out for EURUSD. And the second sell scenario is if we get a weekly candle or a monthly, since the month is ending next week or the coming week, if we get a weekly candle or a monthly candle close below these structure points we have, it is a monthly structure point, this is a weekly structure point. If we get a weekly or a monthly candle close below that and counts for a pullback, then we know we are still heading towards the downside. So, but for now, we are currently going to be bullish due to what we are seeing on DXY. And if we throw in the RSI again, you still see this divergence developing at the area of interest. You can see a lower low, a lower high, a lower low, a lower high, a lower low. But you can see here, you can see a higher low, a higher high, a higher low, a higher high, which is a difference or is divergence of what's actually happening on the chart. So we are likely going to see some reversals from here if we see crude oil dip for the coming week. This is GBPUSD, and we had this setup from previous episodes, where when price was around this area, we're looking forward to a possible pullback into this area of interest to take our buys from here. Price never pulled back, but it has finally pulled back into the area of interest and giving us a strong reaction from there. So if we are to see a weakened DXY, we are likely going to see either a double bottom formation, or we're likely going to see a higher low formation, and we see price take off to the upside. So these are the various targets we have for GBPUSD should it move to the bullish side. We are already holding a sell position here, where we are still holding. We already took some partials on them, and we are going to talk about that at the recap session of this video. So we are considering the bullish side of things for GBPUSD, looking at what we have on crude oil and DXY for the coming week. So this is USDCHF. We actually caught this sell from last week, and we are currently in this position on USDCHF. Price also pulled back into this area of interest and started showing signs of reversal within its area of interest, which looks like a flat correction or a running flat correction. So we took this sell. We are currently in this position. So what we are looking out for, we're anticipating that price is going to give us a daily candle shift before the week closes, but we didn't get the daily candle shift. We rather got a 4-hour structural shift. So we had a 4-hour candle close below the structure point. So what we are looking out for next week is a possible pullback, or a possible lower high formation, or a possible right shoulder. So this is going to be the left shoulder, the head and then we are waiting for a right shoulder formation, then we take the sell to the downside. Or should price close properly below this area of interest and then come back for a lower high formation, we can still look for our sell opportunities to the downside. So we are very bearish on USD-CHF for the coming week. So these are the various targets we have for USD-CHF for the coming week. This is AUDUSD, and for AUDUSD, since we are looking forward to a weekend DXY, we are going to look at the bullish side of things for AUDUSD. So going into next, we are waiting for a daily candle shift. Should we get a daily candle close above this daily structural point we have here, we'll look forward to a possible higher low formation and continue to look for our buying opportunities to the upside. So we are bullish at the moment on AUDUSD, but we have to be patient to see how price develops before we take our bites. So if you still drop in the RSI, you still see this divergence as well. So you can see we have a lower low, a lower high, a lower low, but we have a higher low, a higher high, a higher low, a higher high, which is different or divergent of what we have on the actual charts. So we are likely going to see some reversals from this area of interest to the upside. This is NZDUSD. NZDUSD. Last week we were looking forward to a possible reaction from some zones around this area, but then looking at what DXY is doing, we are likely going to see either a triple bottom formation, or a possible inverse head and shoulder, which this might likely be the left shoulder, and this will be the head, and a possible right shoulder which is forming. So if we are able to get a possible pullback to give us maybe a triple bottom or a right shoulder formation, we look forward to a possible buy to give us a 4-hour structure shift at this structural point, or a daily structure shift at this structural point we have here, get another pullback to retest it, and then we get our buys to the upside. So we're also looking at the bullish side of things for NZDUSD for the coming week, and these are the various targets we have above for NZDUSD. This is EURGBP, and for EURGBP, we were looking forward to a possible harmonic pattern. And looking at the momentum of price, we can see that price is very strong, and if you look at the weekly candle, it closed with a bearish engulfing candle, which is signaling some bearishness for EURGBP. We identified this possible head and shoulder formation, but price has been playing around the right shoulder for a very long time. So this was the head and shoulder, this is the left shoulder, the weekly time frame, this is the head shoulder, the left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder. We are looking forward to a continuation to the downside. So if we drop to the monthly time frame, this head and shoulder formation is actually a double top on the monthly time frame, but on the weekly time frame is a head and shoulder formation, and price is still showing commitment to the downside. So what we are going to look forward to is to wait for a possible pullback into the area of interest, then we look for selling opportunities from there to the downside, targeting these targets we have below on EURGBP. So we are very bearish on EURGBP for the coming week. This is GBPCHF, and GBPCHF, we are bearish on GBPCHF. We're actually holding on to this position. We took this position around the episode 44, and price has given us a nice retracement back into an area of interest where we also caught another position last week. And we can see as price pulled back into this structure point or area of interest, to give us these two daily rejection candles before this bearish engulfing candle, which is a strong sign of bearishness. And we are likely going to add more positions if we get a possible pullback into this area of interest. So if I drop into the 4-hour time frame, if we're able to get a possible pullback into this area of interest, once again, we are going to look for selling opportunities to the downside. This time around, we are going to target the other targets we have below. So initially, we're targeting TP1. If price gets to TP1 and it has a very strong momentum, we can likely hold this position to either TP2 or TP3. So if we're able to catch the third position, we can split the TPs, and then maybe TP1 for this position, TP2 for this position, and maybe TP3 for the next position. So we just have to be patient to see how price unfolds next week. So we are very bearish on GBPCHF for the coming week. This is AUDCHF, and AUDCHF is very bearish on the daily perspective. So going into next week, all we are waiting for is a possible pullback into this area. Should it pull back into this area or anywhere around here, we can look for selling opportunities to the downside for AUDCHF. We are very bearish on AUDCHF. Should price break above this area of interest, then we know we are heading to the bullish side for AUDCHF for the coming week. This is NZDCHF. We identify this head and shoulder formation. this big head and shoulder formation. And last week we were anticipating that price was going to either pull back into this area of interest, this first one or this second one. Price pulled back to the second area of interest and gave us a very strong bearish engulfing candle, which is a clean indication that price wants to head to the downside. So going into next week, what we can see here for the right shoulder here, the entire right shoulder here is also forming another head and shoulder formation. So let me pull this one to the side and identify this second head and shoulder that is developing at the right shoulder. So this is the left shoulder, this is the head, and this is the right shoulder that is forming. I hope you can see this clearly. So going into next week, we are just going to wait for possible pullback into this area of interest. We're waiting for a possible pullback into this area of interest or a possible retest of this daily structure points we have here. Then we look for selling opportunities to the downside. So we are very bearish on NZDCHF for the coming week. So we can either decide to take our first TP at the weekly structure points here and then wait for it to break this entire neckline of this big head and shoulder formation. We come for another pullback and then we look for another sell continuation. So you have to decide on how long you want to hold on to this position. You can either take your first TP. If you're able to catch this sell here, you take your first TP at the structure points we have here. Wait for price to break, come for another retest of the neckline of the big head and shoulder. Then you take your another sell to the downside to this very TP we have, or this very low we have here for NZDCHF. This is CADCHF, and we have a similar view as we have on the other CHF pairs. So going into next week, all we are waiting for is a retest of these daily structure points we have here, or weekly structure points we have here. Or should price pull back a bit deeper into the zone again, we can still look for selling opportunities from here to the downside. So we just have to wait for the possible pullback, then we take our sales from there to the downside. So these are the various targets we have for CADCHF on the sell side. This is EURCAD, and since we are anticipating a possible weak crude oil, we are likely going to see weakness in CAD as well. So going into next week, we have this nice harmonic pattern developing, which 4H. This is EURCAD, so this is a possible harmonic pattern developing, and it is reacting from an area of interest, and we are likely going to see this as the X, the A, the B leg, the C leg, and we are waiting for a continuation of the D leg. So going into next week, we already have price shifting. Go to the daily time frame, you can see that price has shifted structure here, a very clean structural shift here. So all we are waiting for is a possible pullback to either retest the structure points here or come for a possible higher low formation, and then we look for buying opportunities to the upside. So it's either price reacts from the structure points here or comes a bit deeper, and then we take our buys from here to the upside. So we are very bullish on EURCAD for the coming week, and these are the various targets we have for EURCAD to the upside. This is NZDCAD. So for NZDCAD, you can see that price has also reacted from a nice area of interest right here, and we have a harmonic pattern which is also developing. So what we are going to look out for NZDCAD is also a possible retest of this structure point, just as we saw in EURCAD, this daily structure point, or should price pullback and give us a nicer or a much deeper pullback into this area of interest, we can still look for buying opportunities from here, and we'll take our buys to the upside on NZDCAD. So we are very bullish on NZDCAD for the coming week. This is AUDCAD, and AUDCAD is also similar to the CAD positions we are looking out for. And we were expecting that price was going to give us a daily structure shift here before the week closed last week, but it was very slim. The structure shift was not very clean, so we can wait for a daily structure shift before we come for a possible pullback, and then we take our buys to the upside. Should price also give us a lower high formation, price can also give us a higher low formation, and then we can look for buying opportunities from here. Price breaks the structure point, comes for another retest, and continues to the upside. So we are very bullish on AUDCAD for the coming week, and these are the various targets we have for AUDCAD for the coming week. This is GBPNZD. Initially, we're looking for the very side of things, but it looks like something else is developing here. And going into next week, what we are looking out for is a possible pullback into the area of interest right here. look for buying opportunities to shift this structure points, this weekly structure points, come for another higher low formation, and then we look for a continuation to the upside. So it's more like an inverse head and shoulder that is developing gradually, and this is the inverse head and shoulder that's likely to develop. This is the left shoulder, this is the possible head, and we are looking for it to the right shoulder to form. We get the right shoulder and we get a continuation to the upside. So we are very bullish on GBPNZD, but for next week, what we are looking forward to is a possible pullback here into the area of interest once again. Then we look for buying opportunities to the upside, targeting these various targets we have above here. So we are very bullish on GBPNZD. This is EURNZD, and for EURNZD, this position was not taken, but then we are reacting from an area of interest, a daily area of interest around there. I did pull that area of interest, and we also have a 4-hour structure shift reacting from that area of interest. So it's a very clean sign of a bullish move or a bullish momentum. So going into next week, all we are waiting for is the higher low formation right here, or a possible right shoulder formation. Then we'll take our buys from here to the various targets we have over here on EURNZD. So we are very bullish on EURNZD. This is AUDNZD, and for AUDNZD is very bullish. So going into next week, we are just waiting for this 4-hour structure shift here. We're going to see the 4-hour to shift structure here, and then come for a higher low formation and take our buys to the upside. And these are the various targets we have for AUDNZD for the coming week. This can only shift bearish if price breaks these structural points here and continues to the downside. Until then, we are very bullish on AUDNZD. And this is gold. And so for gold, if we are able to see a weak DXY, we are most likely going to see some bullishness on gold for the coming week. We actually had an alt-bat formation, a small alt-bat formation right here, and price is reacting from the potential reversal zone, which is indicating some possible buying moves from here. So going into next week, all we'll be waiting for is a daily structure shift here. Should we get a daily structure shift here, get a pullback to retest the neckline of the structure points, then we look for buying opportunities to the upside. Or if we get a higher low formation, then we'll take our buys to the upside. Until then, we just have to wait to see how price develops. And if you bring the RSI, you realize that we have a lower low, a lower high, a lower low, but we have a higher low, a higher high, and a higher low formation, which is like a divergent view of what is happening here. And price is also currently reacting from an area of interest as well. So we just have to be patient to see how price reacts from here. We can also have a double bottom formation. Price can also form a double bottom right here, or give us a double bottom formation right here. Come for a bullish momentum, come for another retest, and continue to the upside for gold. So we just be on the lookout for that, either a double bottom formation or an inverse head and shoulder formation from this area of interest. Then we take our buys to the upside for gold. Should price violate this area of interest, then we know that we are continuing to the downside for gold. If price violates this area of interest, and then we know that we are continuing to the downside for gold. This is silver. So for silver, we have this potential harmonic pattern developing. So going into next week, as you can see, price is reacting from an area of interest similar to that of what we saw on gold. All we are waiting for is either a double bottom formation, right here. We get a bullish move, come for a neckline retest, continue to the upside, or if we get a daily structure shift here, we come for a possible higher low formation or a right shoulder formation, and then we continue the buys to the upside. So we are also bullish on silver, depending on how crude oil moves and how DXY moves for the coming week. This can also be invalidated if price breaks below this area of interest and continues to the downside for silver. This is STOXX 50, and for STOXX 50, we took a loss on this index. We'll look at that in the recap. So going into next week, we have these nice harmonic patterns that are developing. We have a bigger butterfly pattern which is forming right here, and within the butterfly pattern, we also have a deep crab pattern also developing within it. So going into next week, what we are waiting for is a possible pullback into this area of interest. We look for buying opportunities from here to the various TPs we have above. Should price pull back a bit deeper into the second area of interest here, we will still look for buying opportunities to the upside for STOXX 50. And that index is also very similar, has a very similar movement as German 30 or the DAX 30. This is Australia 200, and for the Australia 200, we are reacting from an area of interest. So going into next week, what we are looking forward to is a daily structure shift here. We get a daily candle to shift this structure we have here. We wait for a higher low formation. We look for buys to the upside. This is a potential harmonic pattern that is developing right here. It's a possible cipher or shark pattern. So this is the X, this is the A, D, the C leg. And we are waiting for the D leg formation on Australia 200. And should this continue to the upside, this will be another target you should be looking out for Australia 200 for the coming weeks ahead of us. This is BTC. So we called this BTC sell, I think 2 episodes ago, where we called out the sell in the Telegram group, and price is moving nicely. And just as we anticipated, we were looking forward to a structural point shift or daily structure shift here, and we can see that the daily candle has closed below it and it has shifted it. So going into next week, all we are looking forward to is a possible lower high formation, a possible pullback to give us more like a right shoulder formation. Look for an additional position to the downside. So we are very bearish on Bitcoin. We are very bearish on Bitcoin there. So the targets we have below, we are looking forward to see Bitcoin reach the 58k to 46k region, and on the worst case scenario, 35k. So we are looking at the very side of things for BTC for the coming week. So let's see what we have for the recap from last week. So last week we caught this sell on CADJPY. So we are currently in this position on CADJPY. We are going to hold it to see how it develops. So we are very bearish on CADJPY for the weeks ahead of us. Should we get any additional position or an additional selling opportunity, we can still add a position to the various TPs we have below. And also this is EURGBP, and we are currently also in this position, but it's in a drawdown. We took this position and we are in a drawdown, and we're expecting that price is going to drop in the coming weeks. If we have a BOJ intervention, it's very good for this move for us to see a nice momentum to the downside. So going into next week, we are targeting these targets for EURGBP. Should we get any additional selling opportunities, we are going to take them and we will share them in the Telegram group. We are also into this sell on AUDJPY, and it's currently in a drawdown. We took this sell, I think, around here, and it's currently in a drawdown. So we are expecting that price is going to break this area of interest with a daily candle. If we get a daily candle close below this area of interest, then we look for another pullback into the area of interest, and we look for more selling opportunities to the downside for AUDJPY. And we're also currently in this position on NZDCHF as well, which we are anticipating that price is going to drop a bit more to the downside. So we are holding on to this position too on NZDCHF. This is the GBPUSD setup we had, or sell we took from last week. I think last week. And we were anticipating that price was going to pull back into this area of interest to give us some more selling opportunities to the downside. Price has pulled back nicely, and it's still possible that we can still see some selling momentum from here. So we are currently We've set our break even and everything. We took some partials to around this area. So all we are waiting for to see is it's either price going to hit our B, or we can continue to see the bearish move continue if we don't have a weak DXY. So these are the various targets for the bearish side of things, which we're looking out for the previous weeks when we took this position. But then if we get to see a bullish GU, then this setup will be invalidated, or it's going to hit our break even. This is EURCAD. This was a very terrible mistake. We actually exited this position out of, let's say, fear. Yes. So I think when the market opened, it started retracing. I think there's a crazy move on, is it CADCHF? Yes, we took a loss on CADCHF, and that is what influenced us to close this position prematurely around this area in a small loss, and then later on, price just kept moving as we anticipated. So we missed out on this big move, or we were holding on to this sell from here. Price pulled back, and we closed out of here, and now the price kept dipping. So going into next week, if we are fortunate to get another pullback into this area of interest, we can likely take some sales from here to the downside, targeting the various targets we have on the downside for EURCAD. So we saw this sell position on CADCHF, and we were taken out. So I think this is a move that influenced us to exit the EURCAD trade. So we took this sell here, and we were taken out. This was a loss, and now see where price is. So this was a loss for us on CADCHF. I think that's what influenced the exits on EURCAD. And for the STOXX too, we saw some sell movements here. We took some sells around here. Price moved nicely in profit, and then later on the momentum shifted to the bullish side. So we closed around here in small profits around this region on STOXX 50. I think for the last one, this is Ethereum. So last week we were anticipating that price was going to pull back to retest this structure points we have here. We were anticipating that price was going to retest this structure points we have here and give us some sell continuations to the downside. Price never retested it, and then it kept dipping to the downside. So these are the targets we have for Ethereum going forward. And so if you are able to see or catch any sell opportunity, you can look forward to that and then take your sales to the downside. So this is the end of this video today. Thank you so much for sticking through to the end of this video. We really appreciate you for your time, and would encourage you to apply proper risk management to your trades. Trade safe and sound, and we wish all of us a profitable week ahead of us. Take good care of yourselves, and I'll catch you on another episode. Take care. Bye bye.